Today we are talking about the things you should do when you start FC25 career mode. These are going to be my best tips for when I start my own saves, and I hope that this helps you out as well. If you play career mode hardcore, you probably will know all the things I speak about here, but if you're a beginner, this should help you get started. This is part 1 in the series, and I'll have part 2 coming soon with more tips, so make sure you leave a like and subscribe for more FC25 tips and tricks. If you pre-ordered the game maybe from Amazon or a game store, you might get an email or document which tells you about your pre-order bonuses that come with the game, and obviously it's important to redeem those. If you play career mode, your perks are 3 icon players. You can use Beckham, Zidane and Ronaldo Nazario from day 1 in player career mode. And then you've also got player career personality points, 5-star coach in manager career, and 5-star youth scout in manager career. You just have to go to the PSN store or the Xbox store, put in your unique code, and you'll get the pre-order bonus. Don't forget about that. Once you get into the main menu of the game, there is something you need to do that's pretty important. You need to download the latest squads. This is one of the first things you need to do when you start because it's essential to your kickoff and career mode experience. Downloading the latest squads ensures that the latest transfers, player faces, and player stats have been applied in the game, and then you can use those updates in career mode and other modes in the game. And you just need to go to the edit teams and download the latest squad updates, and the game will do the rest. If at any time you need to reset the squads, there's obviously a tile there that will just reset all the players, the transfers, and everything else. Another thing we need to talk about now is gameplay, because this year there's a new setting. So there's a classic gameplay type, which is basically your high intensity, crazy, chaotic FC experience that we all know. But then there's also a new one which is called simulation type, which is a slower sim style experience that is closer to what you'd see in a live football match. At the moment in career mode I've been using this, and I actually like the gameplay, which is slower. You don't have to use the simulation experience if you don't like it, but definitely try it out if you play kickoff or career mode. The sim style experience has different sliders. EA tweaks it by default, so you don't have to change any of the sliders here. This year there's some new AI behavior settings. If you go under CPU sliders, they should be there, and you can do custom sliders or tactical sliders, or even dynamic sliders. So if you use tactical sliders, your CPU decision making will fluctuate slightly from baseline behavior every match, allowing for more variety when playing the same opponent multiple times. So if you play career mode and you play the same teams, a couple times a season, you might want to have it on tactical because they won't behave the same way every match. If you leave it on dynamic, it is the same as tactical, but slider values will fluctuate even more from their baseline values. So with this setting, you're going to see more fluctuation. Now, if you're someone that wants to customize your sliders, you don't like what EA gives you, then you have to turn the gameplay type to custom in the simulation settings part of the menu, and then you also have to go to CPU sliders and leave that on custom as well, and then you can start tweaking and adjusting the sliders for you and also the CPU. It's all there. Spend a lot of time playing matches, see what you like, and hopefully you find sliders that work for you if you don't like the EA preset ones. But for me so far, the simulation type has been pretty good. Now you need to decide if you want to do a manager career or player career. This year personally, I think a lot of the upgrades went to manager career. Each year I always start manager career mode first because player career mode doesn't really interest me as much as managing my own team. Looks like we have a loyalty reward here. You might get that as well when you load up your manager career for the first time. You can create your own manager this year with the new EA Cranium technology, so customization has been improved a lot this year. You pick your preset face and then you can just move across the different spots here, and you can customize everything basically about this face this year. You should definitely take some time, play around with this new EA Cranium technology. If you don't want to create your own manager, you can also play as a real manager, so you can select from some of the real life managers. Not everyone's going to have a real face though. I think there's about 50 real faces, but there will be a lot of missing managers as well. As you can see, the French League only has one manager. In Germany, there's only one as well for the Bundesliga, and there's a lot of generic managers. So yeah, there's a lot of managers, but a lot of them are generic. I would suggest that if you wanted to play with your manager, but he has a generic face, you're better off just creating your own manager instead. Don't forget there are women's teams in manager career mode this year as well, so you can pick from even Barclays Women's Super League managers. There's some women's Bundesliga managers, and then there's also the rest of the world managers. The Spanish League for the women also has some managers as well. This year you need to decide whether you want to start with men's teams or women's teams because this is a new feature. You can play with some women's clubs, and you can also change between the women's and men's clubs during the save as well. You don't need to start a new one. The game does offer teams from England, France, Germany, Spain, the United States. So women's career mode could interest you more this year. All the features are the same between the men's and the women's anyway, so you don't lose any features. And like I said earlier, you can even switch and get job offers from men's clubs during the save as well. Next up, you have to decide what team you want to use in manager career mode. A lot of people get bored with career mode quickly because they don't have a storyline or a reason why they chose that team. So obviously, if you don't have a storyline to keep you interested, things can get boring pretty quickly. A lot of people use their favorite club for their first save. I usually do Manchester United as well because that's the club I'm most interested in. So obviously I'm going to play it longer. But you can also do like a Road to Glory with a lower ranked club and work your way up the divisions. Or you can choose a club that might need a rebuild. I'll do some suggestions, I think, in a future video of teams to use in career mode. But basically what you need to do is either use your favorite team or pick a team where there's a reason why. Otherwise you'll get bored pretty quickly, I reckon. While you're considering your club, don't forget there's also Create a Club. Feels like EA hasn't really done much with Create a Club. I think it's pretty much the same this year once again. You can now put your club in the women's career mode as well, so you can create a women's team and throw them in there. You can still do the men's career mode as well if you want to. All the customization stuff is still the same. Go in, play around with it. You might want to create your own club this year instead of using licensed clubs. This is all stuff you need to consider before you start the save. If you want to go down the player career mode route, you will get some loyalty rewards if you qualify for those. You can download later squads from here or use the current squads. And then you have a few options here. So this year you can create a new men's player. You can also create a new women's player because women's career mode is now in FC 25 and that includes manager and player career mode. You can play as a real player. But this year there's also a new feature, Select Icon Player. This might interest you more. You can use a few legends and they're going to drip feed more legends throughout the game cycle. So obviously the selection at the moment is pretty limited. If you didn't pre-order the game, I think you only get Henry, Pirlo, Van Nistelrooy and Smith to start with. But like I said earlier, if you redeem the pre-order code, you can get Brazilian Ronaldo, Zidane and also David Beckham to use in the game. Even if you select an icon though, the rest of player career mode will be the same. Whether you select a real player, create your own player, or use a women's player, the features are all the same. If you decide to create a new men's player or women's player, there's a new feature called Origin Story. So after you create your player, it'll come up with this option. This is a new feature this year as well. You'll need to decide what you want to do here because you can't change it afterwards. You can choose the clean slate option, which is basically just you as an 18-year-old. You don't have any starting skill level or personality tier. You can go to Great Expectations. This has its own little introduction storyline as well, and it affects your age, starting skill level, and personality tier. You even have pros and cons of your player and a dominant personality. There's also Climb to the Top, which is another storyline. Now, when I say storyline, it doesn't mean that you're going to get cutscenes and all that. It's not like The Journey. It's just basically how you start. It just affects your stats on the right. So this one is a 23-year-old player with a basic skill level and 3 personality tier. And then you have Return to Glory, where you're 27 years old and you're returning from a major injury setback, and it affects your skill level and personality tier and dominant personality. And then you have Custom as well. So if we click on that, you get full customization here, which is pretty much the way the old career modes used to work. You can create a 50-year-old player here. I don't know if he would retire after one season anyway, but you can do that. And they've got different skill levels. Basically, you get all the customization you would want to start your player the way you want to. You need to decide what you want to do here because once you set it up, you can't change it. So as you can see, there's a lot of different things to consider before you even start. And we've got part 2 going over some more things. That video will be coming soon. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like and make sure you are subscribed and hit the thumbnail to watch another FC 25 video.